All right, is everybody seeing my screen with e-commerce essentials on it? Cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and just jump in here. So yeah, like Robert mentioned, my name is Kory Richardson, and part of Marston, and this is in association with the American SBDC and Sierra Commons. So a little bit of background on myself. I'm specifically focused on WordPress development for the time being, but I've dabbled in multiple, tried out many of the platforms out there. Been working with WordPress for about 3 years. I enjoy front-end web development, web platforms, and yeah, my goal is to help small to medium businesses make money with their websites. I love WordPress maintenance, hosting, and support. So here's a quick overview of what we will be covering. We'll start with domain, move into hosting, sitemap, shop, merchant accounts, email, terms of service, privacy policy, shipping, pickup, tax, and then selecting a platform from simple to complex, quick store design, connecting your social media accounts, and then the last and most important, which is testing. All right, so we'll just jump into the domain here. So this is going to be a lot of information, so I'll try and move slowly and make it easy to understand. So first off, why do we start? Why do we have domains? Well, they're a bit easier to remember than a long stream of numbers, which will be the IP address, which is usually what a domain points to. When we began organizing domains, there were 3 main categories, which is the sponsor level domain, the generic level domain, which is the GTLD, and then the country code level domain. So the STLD would be like a .gov website. The GTLD would be like .com, maybe .org or .net. And then the country code would be like .co, .uk or .ca for Canada. And so probably what's going to be most relevant is the GTLD. When you're looking at buying domains, it's important to think about not only the short-term costs, but the long-term costs and what you're setting up for yourself. So some solutions like GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Domain.com, Fast Domain, they offer like really low introductory rates of like $1 or $2, maybe $10. But sometimes they make their prices a little bit more expensive and charge add-ons like for privacy if you want to block people from sending a bunch of spam messages to whatever email you used to sign up with. And so I usually recommend Hover just because it's a relatively straightforward cost. It includes free privacy. And it's pretty easy to use for domains. But again, your platform that you select may have a domain offering with it. And so for example, the people behind Hover, OpenSRS, they sell domains to Squarespace, they sell domains to Shopify. And so if you're buying domains from Shopify or Squarespace, you'll get whatever charge Shopify or Squarespace tack on to the OpenSRS fee. And so that's just a little bit of the background behind domains. Without going into the history and whatnot, when you're thinking about a domain, it should be relevant to what you're selling. So whether you're looking at targeting like a specific area, so like maybe, Nevada County arts.com maybe could be something that's very specific toward, arts products within Nevada County, or you're looking for more of like a general website, which could maybe be like toparts.com, which I don't know if these are available or not, but there's just a couple quick examples, and just being relevant to maybe specifically what you're selling or to your brand name. And so usually people will focus on their brand name, which would be something like maybe Marston.co or SierraCommons.com, and those are the brand names. And so next we'll go ahead and jump over to hosting. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Throw in a couple things.
Yeah.
A lot of the free platforms, or let's say Squarespace or Wix or things like that, there's a free version of it, and then you have to have like your domain name is wix.mybusiness.com, things like that, and maybe they put extra ads on it. And then if you pay a little, $20 a month or whatever it is, if you already own a domain name, you can say, have your domain name, so you advertise your domain name, mybusiness.com. You already have it, and then type feature. So it may be easier to go, if you don't have a domain name and you go to Squarespace and you buy it through them, it's probably going to be more expensive, but easier and faster. But if you want to have more ownership of it, then go to something like Hover and buy your domain, and you own it, and then set that up with whatever platform you have.
Great things to add. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's definitely good, especially to start small, to start with the subdomain on one of those platforms if you're just kind of looking to get up and going. So next, jumping into hosting. And so, we've maybe mentioned a lot of platforms on here. And so if you aren't familiar with these platforms, basically what's underneath a e-commerce platform like Shopify, Squarespace, WordPress is hosting. And that's just basically a computer sitting somewhere that has a bunch of files on it that usually connect to a database where the information is stored. So there's a range of options from bare bones to customized to niche specific. And so a niche specific example would be something maybe like Squarespace or Shopify, where Squarespace is maybe like specifically for people who are just getting started selling online. Shopify maybe specifically for people who want to sell e-commerce or who want to set up an e-commerce website to sell products online, be that digital or physical. Most of these platforms will abstract the hosting away into an e-commerce platform so that you usually don't have to think about hosting. It's just more, what are you buying? You're buying the ability to set up a shop relatively easily. And so you don't need to think about hosting. But if you're interested in getting into hosting, that's kind of it can be easy or it can be difficult. And I can offer some recommendations for people who are interested in that down the road. But basically just the underlying infrastructure to run the software, which runs your online shop. And so next up, we will jump into sitemap. So the sitemap is just a collection of all the pages that are available for a customer or robot to visit on our website. So it's important to have that sitemap available for a robot in terms of marketing, SEO, the way that Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you're looking to target access your website. And it's also important for customers to be able to understand how the pages are laid out within your website, be it a top level page like a home page or kind of a nested page like maybe an about page a product page would be a top level, and then a single product page would be like a nested page. So here's a quick example of a more complex and a simpler sitemap. So a complex would be just something that, maybe you want to have a shop with testimonials, videos, account section, blog.
Kory, can I interrupt for just a sec? Someone was commenting that there's a lot of audio breakup for you.
Really?
I'm not having that issue. Could just a show of hands, are people having trouble with the audio? A couple hands. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do.
I can try switching to a different pair of headphones.
It sounds fine to me. So it's probably on. No, you guys sound great. So I think maybe it's on the other side for people.
Okay.
Is this any better? I'm the one breaking up. Better.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know and I'll try switching to my headphones. I was having issues with them, which is why I got these ones, but let me know and I'll give it a shot.
Okay, it might have been me. Sorry.
No worries. So jumping back into the simple complex. And so while this is very complex, it makes a bit more sense to maybe start with something that's simple, which would just be like home, about, and shop. And this is the simplest form that I could think of, just ensuring that you have every step of the process where somebody can land on your page. They can see the home page, which has everything that you need to display your shop and the products and a bit more information about yourself, and then the about page, which can maybe go into some more detail about who you are, what your shop has to offer, your values and whatnot. And then shop archive, single, and category, and so those are just basically just a way to organize the shop with a cart, checkout, thank you, and we'll cover some of this terms and conditions and privacy policy very soon. And then a contact, just so people can contact you with any issues or any questions. All right, so next up, we will jump into shop.
We do have a question from Katie.
Yeah.
Let's unmute you, Katie.
Is that me?
Katie, are you there? Kory, could you unmute Katie Wolf 2?
Yeah. I'm seeing ask to unmute. Is there another option besides that?
Could you chat your question then?
I got it.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I've been touching the screen instead of using a cursor. Before I take photos of all of your notes at the end of the class, do you send them out?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and post. Oh, sorry. Is that a question about the slides?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send out a link that has all the slides in a download.
Great. It'll make it easier. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Good question. Cool. All right. So next up, we will be talking about the shop, which is just related to selecting products, adding the info into the platform. So whether you're using Squarespace, Shopify, WordPress, SquareUp, you're going to need to have a collection of information about your products, dimensions, maybe SKU, quantity of products that you have available to sell, the payment information, and maybe like product variants. So if you have different colors of maybe a shirt, for example, that could be a product variant. And then it's really important to keep that product information up to date. Just in terms of quantity, that can cause a headache if you're selling a product and you don't actually have it in stock. So, sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, you hear my little grunts that I'm making. There's a couple questions.
Yeah.
One is Matthew wants to talk about the difference between Squarespace and WordPress. Mm-hmm. And after you address that, then Stormy, just go ahead and unmute yourself after he addresses that and ask your question.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll cover some of the platforms a bit more towards the end, but Squarespace is kind of like a hosted, simple kind of setup, SaaS, software as a service. So you're basically paying for a website kind of builder package in one. And then WordPress is open source software that is basically based off of a blog. And so you can use different things called plugins to add functionality to your website and themes to add styles. And that will allow you to turn this kind of blog into an e-commerce website or an event website or anything. But yeah, and we'll kind of cover that more in detail later on as well. And I think Katie had a question, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So for a while I had a Shopify store, did drop shipped items, and it was fun at first, but then it wasn't calling to me. And I basically dropped it because they were charging $50 a month, even at the basic level. So I still have about 10 of my own products. A couple of them actually ship, others are just information products. Is there something that I could link to my existing website that would be make it a good shopping experience for those products that is free? Or or is it all, well, I guess Wix is free, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. There's definitely ways to sell your products for like free, depending upon your setup and whatnot. I think I'd need a little bit more information about like the specifics, but there's things like a PayPal buy button, which is free. They take a percentage. Basically any transaction will take a percentage online.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
what I have now. It's just formatting
Gotcha.
it. I'm not great at formatting it. It just looks kind of
Gotcha.
cheesy, but
Gotcha.
maybe that's the problem, not the not the selling platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, and then there's things like Wave accounting that you can do a similar thing, and I think you have a bit more customization with that. But yeah, in terms of like a quick buy button, there's a few options out there. I think looking into different merchant accounts would be a good bet for that. Like,
Merchant accounts, as in like PayPal, is one of those.
yeah, exactly, and we'll cover merchant accounts a little bit later on, but I think like Stripe would be another good example, or
Yeah,
to check out. Yeah.
I have both of. I have PayPal and Stripe.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm just not familiar with how to hook up Stripe to make it, like as easy as a PayPal button on the site, something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely ways to do that. There may be solutions out there that, in terms of configuration, it would take a little bit of research to find something that would suit your needs. Stripe is very developer friendly, and so most of my experience with Stripe is kind of digging into the code, but I'm sure there's solutions out there that other people have built that are relatively low cost or free. I just don't know of any off the top of my head, but it sounds like you're looking for some sort of way to purchase a product. And we'll go into platforms in a little bit, but something like Shopify Lite might be a solution for an existing website. I think it's like $10 a month, and they offer a checkout process as well. So does that kind of answer? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Sierra Commons has a Squarespace site, and we use Stripe. And kind of the weird thing is that Squarespace charges us to have the ability to take Stripe, so we kind of get dinged twice, which is not optimal.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I changed my audio settings, if that helps, I hope.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think it'll kind of depend on the specific situation, and maybe we can get more into that in a little bit. And we'll come back to that question about merchant accounts and platforms, and what's a good option for you.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, actually, next up we have merchant accounts. So a merchant account is just basically an account set up to handle the processing of credit card, debit card, bank transfers, or cryptocurrency. Which could be another solution, cryptocurrency for quick checkout. A merchant account can take all of those options mentioned here. And if you have a physical location, then it's just important to think about how much you're going to be processing now, and then how this merchant account fits into the future, if a year from now or a few months, or how whenever that is possible, to take in-person payments. Just to balance that. And next up, we will jump into fees, which I have a whole page for. So fees, merchant account fees can be easy or it can be difficult, depending upon whatever setup you want and how much you are making, or how much your store is generating per month, and your specific requirements. So when it comes to merchant account fees, we have discount fees, the discount rates, which is basically split up into like a 3-tier pricing, which is a qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified. So qualified is just the standard rate. Mid-qualified has some exceptions, like, let's see, if a consumer credit card is like keyed into a terminal instead of being swiped. So this is mainly relevant for in-person checkouts, and as well with the non-qualified those rates generally apply to in-person checkouts. And then 6-tier pricing is relevant to debit cards, and it basically relates to the Durbin Amendment, which limits the debit card fees to like 0.5% plus 20 cents per transaction, I believe. And so the merchant account may tack on a fee, but the debit card fees are limited to that percentage. So that's just the basic discount fees, and then the merchant account that whoever you sign up with will have some other fees possibly tacked on, like an authorization fee, which is charged whether or not a request is approved, transaction fees charged with the authorization being processed, statement fee, which could be like a monthly fee, sometimes a maintenance fee is how it will be called, monthly minimum fee charged if the fees are not covered by other fees, a batch fee, which can be charged when all of the transactions are processed together within a settlement period. That can sometimes be at the end of the day, or usually at the end of the day, depending on the setup. Customer service fee, sometimes this is bundled in a general maintenance, account maintenance fee, an annual fee, which can be charged for maintaining the account annually, and an early termination fee if you end your contract early. And one of the most important ones to not overlook is a chargeback fee. And that's basically if a customer contacts the credit card company and requests a refund from the credit card company that they used to purchase the account. The merchant account can charge you a $15 to $30 fee is generally what it is whenever they have the issue with the transaction. And so that's just something to be aware of, because it can negatively impact your standing with the merchant account and potentially cause that to shut down. But all of these merchant account fees are something that is worth speaking to your bank account or whoever you sign up for this account with, which we will talk a little bit about how to get an account. And so generally, if you're just starting out, if you're processing less than $3,000, I think was the general benchmark that I found doing research online, it can make sense to use a bundled package. So like something like Square or Stripe or PayPal, something that charges like a flat fee, like a 3% fee, is generally what it is, 2.9%, I believe. And that's per transaction plus 25 cents or something on top of that. And so that's generally the way to go when you're just starting out, is to start with a general credit card processor that can help you get up to a certain amount, and then maybe look at getting a merchant account that you can dive into these fees a little bit more and figure out what's more cost beneficial for you. Because if you're processing a lot of transactions per month, it can be beneficial to minimize the fees, more money in your pocket.
I have a question for you, Kory. And while I'm asking it, if you could mute Donald, I think that might be part of the problem. Okay. So I like, the PayPal, the Stripe way to just get up and running. People are somewhat familiar with that when people registered, it's like, what are you familiar with? And a lot of people had some experience with PayPal. It seems not too long ago, some customers would see PayPal and just go, oh, I don't do PayPal, or I don't like PayPal. For whatever reason, there's probably a lot of reasons. Is that still the case? Is it having PayPal, does that, make people decide not to buy? Are they, and along the same lines, Stripe is fairly new to town, and some of the other flavors of processors are more new. So as far as consumer perception, do you have any thoughts about that? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think that, a lot of people, especially now, are looking for easy ways to check out, whether it's PayPal or Apple Pay or maybe Google Pay. So sometimes that can even be beneficial to link to your account or to link to the checkout process if your platform allows for it. But I think that, PayPal offering the option is always good, I would say. Not always, but it can definitely depend, on who you're products are being sold to, but I would definitely say that, yeah, consumer perception has shifted. A lot more people are comfortable with using PayPal. Something like Stripe would be, they have a very simple checkout most of the time, maybe like two fields, name, and then usually the numbers, CSV, and expiration date are all in one line. And so, that can also be, it's anything to kind of simplify the process of checking out is going to help people check out more easily. So yeah, does that kind of answer the question? Cool. Yeah, so that kind of covers merchant accounts, different options. I touched briefly on what could be good options in terms of alternatives to a merchant account, and as well as we mentioned earlier with the question, PayPal sometimes has a buy button that you can just paste into your website. They sometimes give you the ability to design that on the back end or within the PayPal options. I'm not sure, I can't think of any off the top of my head that offer similar functionality that make it just as easy, but it's definitely worth doing some research and seeing what options there are out there for a similar buy button checkout process. Okay, so next we will jump into email. So with email, the goal is to take a customer who has never heard, maybe sometimes never heard of you, sometimes it might be their first visit to your website, all the way over here to browsing a product, adding it to the cart, first purchase, and then second purchase. So, email marketing and email itself is very, very important when it comes to online stores, and it's important to be respectful, and it's important to be just thoughtful about email marketing in general. So when it comes to email itself, generally it will be separated in between like the platform email and then your business email. So usually I recommend, if you're hosting your website yourself, like on WordPress, to separate email from the platform itself, just because if the website goes down, you want to have your email up. And that's just a simple solution that can help you keep your email going while your store is maybe experiencing downtime. And then in terms of the platform email, usually your platform, whatever it is, can offer email on top of it. Maybe you are designing a template via Shopify that is sent out to all your customers after they purchase a product, or maybe you're in mail. You can use tools like MailChimp to send out automated marketing materials, which will be covered more in the marketing section. We'll just touch briefly on it here, but that kind of brings us into automated marketing campaigns, which you are definitely worth thinking about in detail, because ideally, you write it once and then you don't need to write it again until you get feedback from customers. So if you're putting a lot of thought into it, it might be worth consulting with a content expert on this subject material, on this content, to put together the emails, because they're going to be sent out to your customers after every transaction. And fine tuning is always a part of the process as well. So that kind of wraps it up with email. Just important to be thoughtful, important to have well-placed emails, and we'll cover a little bit more about kind of etiquette when we get to social media, and same rules for social media kind of apply to emails.
So Kory, there is a question. If you could talk a little bit more about keeping the email separate from the platform.
Yeah, definitely. So that's generally just related to like the domain. So like you have your website domain, and maybe you have your name at website domain or support at website domain. And so some platforms will offer email linked with hosting. So when you're paying for hosting, you're paying for the email with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It can work fine. But if the website does go down, then that means that your email's down as well. And sometimes you don't want that to happen if it's for a period of time. If it's and then if you have to troubleshoot the email, it can take, depending upon what setup you have. If you're troubleshooting it yourself, it can maybe take some time to figure out what the issue is and get hosting and email back up.
Is there a easy way to have your email set up that way, but then forward it to, say, a Gmail account if the server goes down or if the website goes down?
Yeah, definitely. There's You mean in terms of, let's say the website goes down and you want to host your email with the website? Is that what you mean? Or if you're
Right.
separating
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, but just to
Gotcha.
have a forward to Gmail as an automatic backup.
From my understanding, it can usually be the records that can have an issue. So it'll depend on the downtime. So if you're setting up a forward with the email within your hosting account, if the records and everything are configured properly, it should send the way that it normally does. And sometimes web email is not linked to the website downtime, but sometimes it is. But in those situations when it is, and when it can be for a long period of time, it can be worth it to make sure that they're separate. But if you set up that forwarding account and this part of the web host platform is down, then all of it will be down. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to address something here. Someone asked about, Gmail being, is it look unprofessional or not? Again, I believe that get up and running as quickly as possible, leave passive resistance, start offering things for sale. If people want it, they're going to buy it. And then I can be like, oh, well, I was going to buy this, but they have a Gmail address, so I'm not going to. That's probably not going to happen. When it comes to credit cards, it's, do I trust this website to put my credit card in? And if it's through PayPal and they've logged onto their PayPal, they're used to that. But as far as the longer term goal, as far as your website, sierracommons.org, and my email is robert@sierracommons.org, and it's consistent throughout, then I think that that's best. And honestly, when someone emails me at robert@sierracommons.org, it shows up in my Gmail, and I just use Gmail to do all my mail. So that's definitely a possibility. What I would avoid is robert@wix.com or robert@sierracommons.wix.com or something like that, to really keep that part separate. I'd rather have it a Gmail address than a platform specific address, and then that platform goes away.
Definitely. Yeah. Good stuff.
Cool.
That's a great way to keep it separate from the platform as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
I might have missed something here or missed something yesterday, but for my current website just has a click on button. Please contact me at queenkatiewolf@yahoo.com or jbeartrading@yahoo.com. Why are you setting up anything different than your regular email address? Can't they just click on your email to contact you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so
It's all buying online.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so as Robert mentioned, when you're trying to get up quickly, that's totally fine to have your personal email address, linked to your shop and whatnot. But sometimes it can appear, more professional to have the domain name. So, your name at theshopname.com. And so that would just be another way to collect the email, and it may even go to your personal email. As Robert mentioned, his Sierra Commons goes, Robert@SierraCommons goes to his Gmail.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we got some questions coming in at you. Kelly, so maybe Kelly, just unmute yourself, and it seems like fairly specific stuff. So if you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, that's fine. How are
Go
you?
for it. Great.
So I had set up, my site's not live yet, but I have a Squarespace site, and then I ended up having my email redirected through like a Google Suite account. And I get emails outside of, my site. Obviously, no one's emailing me through it yet. But in that case, I shouldn't really have to worry about my email going down, just if the site goes down, correct?
Right. Yeah. No, that's kind of what I was. Yeah.
Okay,
exactly
but if people still
Yeah.
had my email outside of that, it's connected through Google, so I don't actually have to worry about people not being able to reach me. I guess I kind of
Exactly.
wanted to clarify that for other people too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, great question. So thanks.
Okay,
for clarifying.
cool.
Yep.
I'm still learning all this technology stuff. It's not my strong suit, honestly.
Right. Yeah, no, it takes time and practice.
Thank you.
Is there another question?
I think we're good to go unless anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question. Feel free to do so. Go for it, Kory.
All right, cool. So yeah, email, got that kind of covered. We'll jump into even more fun stuff in terms of service. So terms of service agreements can help legally protect you as well as set out the rules that you and your customers will follow, limit your liability in the event that your product fails, and cover what you do if any legal conflicts arise. So basically just set guidelines for what happens if a legal issue arises with respect to the commerce, related to your product or service. And so the goal is to protect you and your customer from anything that can kind of go wrong in this scenario. So there's a few good things to cover in terms of service, and I put a link to that in the description. And as well, when it comes to terms of service and privacy policy, there are free tools online. I'm not a lawyer, but there are some free tools online that can help you get started kind of quickly and get something going and make sure that you're protecting your all the things that we're about to mention in terms of intellectual property, limit of liability, payment terms, delivery clause, and returns, exchange and refunds clause. So the intellectual property is related to kind of like copyright, maybe digital assets on your website, just anything that you're creating and putting on your website that you want to protect. And so a limit of liability clause is related specifically to your products, limiting your liability for these products if they're sold, if something goes wrong, just to protect you and your customer in case that's necessary. A payment terms clause, so that's mainly just related to the merchant processor information. No matter which payment methods you allow, an agreement should have different payment methods, what you accept, what currency, your prices, and other information that you can provide your customers, just so there's no confusion about how the payment process works. So a delivery clause could even be its own page. Sometimes a document. Just really important to be clear on how your products can be purchased, any restrictions, what happens if you can't supply something, etc. Just being very, very detailed about the process of delivery. And then the returns, exchange, and refunds clause, this could also be its own document, just really kind of nailing down what's going to happen if a return occurs, what's going to happen in the event of exchange and a refund. And these are all things that you can determine based upon your market. What are other people doing who are selling similar products to you? Are they accepting returns? Are they not accepting returns? Do they provide an exchange? Is it possible to provide an exchange within your industry? And then how you handle refunds. And so sometimes, if maybe you're selling like a retail product, people will mail a return sticker even. So it really just depends on what products you're selling online when it comes to the delivery, to the returns, exchange, and refunds clause. Cool. So if there weren't any questions about terms of service, we'll go ahead and move on to privacy policy.
I'd actually like to add a few things.
Yeah.
So this area is, how like there's a squeaky wheel. If one person becomes a squeaky wheel, it can be a lot of problems for you. If you're used to selling online products, or if you're used to not selling online products or services, there's a lot of other complications with selling online. Let's take a product, for example. You have your terms of service, and then you ship it to them, and you have proof of delivery and the person says, I never got it. Send it to me again or give me a refund. Well, I look at the post office says, you know, they said they delivered it. What do you do? Is it, you know, do you just eat it because it's customer service and you know, it's going to be a lot more headache? How do you handle that? There's all kinds of different ways to do that. And to think about it in advance is really important. I would suggest finding a store or a service that's similar to yours and look at their terms of service. See what they've come up with. I am not a lawyer. You always have to say that, right? I am not a lawyer. But I have spoken with lawyers about how, if I went to this terms of service on this page I liked and I copied their terms of service, is that copyright infringement? And then basically the short answer was no. You can modify things out there, and then I think the best thing to do would be to look at terms of services, take one that you think, okay, I feel comfortable with this, modify it as necessary, and then pay a lawyer $200 to look at it and get their blessing. Because I've had a situation before where it's like, oh, this paragraph needs to be in bold. Like legally, it needs to be in bold. I'm like, really? Yup. Like there's laws about where to bold on those agreements. So it's super important for your own kind of just customer service and thinking about what your policies are. It goes beyond no shirt, no shoes, no service, or we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, which is in a typical store, brick and mortar. And then if you're a service business, one of the things that at Sierra Commons for our co-working space, we have a membership agreement. I did not count on being closed for a month. There's a PSPS. Okay, we're shut down for 3 days. Everyone understands there's no power. There's no internet. There's no co-working. I guess you could come in if you wanted to in a hot, smoky, no internet building. As a member, you have a right to do that. But COVID, no, do not come in. But yet it's the middle of the month and they've paid a month rent. Like, never thought of that. Thank goodness everyone's super cool. And we just, understand it's a crisis. But someone ordering online in Minnesota is not going to be so forgiving. And some people are trolls, and they look for opportunities to sue people and to, it's a different ballgame. So take it seriously. And Kory, I don't know if you said, there's free tools online, and I'm sure you're going to cover privacy policy, but I know that Shopify, if you Google Shopify terms of service generator, Shopify privacy policy generator, it's free, and it'll be like, type in your business name. Do you accept returns or don't accept returns? Do you that? And then it spits out a policy for you. It may not be perfect, but it's a good start. And again, I'd recommend that you have a lawyer review that. So those are my 3 cents on the subject.
Definitely. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Robert mentioned the Shopify free tool, and not lawyers, so definitely get that checked out by a professional. So yeah, next up, other fun legal documents, privacy policy. So privacy policy is something that is kind of specific to website, and it basically describes how a user of a website's information is collected, where it is stored, how it is handled, how it's shared, and how it's protected. So there's a lot of information out there about the California privacy laws and kind of litigation. So we won't go into great detail about that, but in general, it's best to just collect only the data that is truly relevant to your business. For example, if you're selling a virtual product, do you need the customer's address? Maybe not. That could be a form field that you leave off of the checkout process. And as well, that can, these are also just points of security vulnerabilities. If somebody wants to, somehow get into your website, that's data that could potentially be breached. So it's just better to leave off any data that is not necessary for you to collect. And so when it comes to data, usually what we're referring to, it includes the following, and this link right here kind of is a great resource, which it will be in the link that I share at the end of the course. And it has some good resources about privacy policies in e-commerce. But data refers to any kind of information that's collected, could be cookie data, and cookie data is basically some websites add like kind of what is called a cookie, and it starts like a session monitoring the actions taken on a website, different things, and sometimes that can be helpful, like add this item to a cart, or add this item, just keeping track of making sure that we're moving data to the next stage of the process, and we want to make sure that we have that, like a name on the form field carries over to the second form field, or second page of the form field. So that can be helpful in some cases, but you just got to let people know what cookie data you're collecting, why you're collecting it, how you're using it, everything mentioned before. Related to data, circumstances when the data is released. So if you are sharing the data with anybody, just let people know why that is, who you're sharing it with, how it's collected. Sometimes people are selling data, so just important to know, let the people who are using your platform know how that's happening and why, and etc. The user of any website ability to modify their data, so just let people know how they can modify it. A lot of websites now, you can contact the website owner and say, hey, can you delete my data? And for example, if it's a WordPress website, they'll be able to just go ahead and delete the user off of the platform. And it's just important to let people know how they can interact with their data on your platform. And this is something that is not, if your customers live in the EU, it's something that you really need to pay attention to, which might not be the case for most people. But if you are selling virtual products and somebody from the EU purchases your product, it's just important to have all of this information on there, just in terms of the privacy laws there. But within the United States, it's something that's still very gray, and we're still working out how we're gonna create laws and whatnot around this and move forward with that. So yeah, age requirements, business transfer clause, what happens if you sell your business to the data, what happens to the data when you sell your business, and anyone who uses your website can contact about privacy concerns. So if you want to contact somebody, just an email of, my email to contact me about privacy concerns. And then the last time that the privacy policy was updated. So this is all just helpful information when it comes to visiting your website. Most of the time, as Robert mentioned, you can generate a free one with Shopify's tools. I know like WordPress has one that they include. Squarespace may have one that they kind of include. It's just worth looking in your platform if they have this. If you need to add in any information, so you might need to like add in the name of your shop, your name, your email, who to contact. If you're using Google Analytics, for example, you just need to let people know, using Google Analytics, that collects your cookie data. This is how you're using it, etc. So that's the general gist of the privacy policy and why it's important for websites to have a privacy policy.
So that example with the Google Analytics, does that hold true with, let's say, a Facebook advertising pixel? You just kind of list out what platforms you're using.
Is if they collect that data, then yeah, there are some analytics platforms that do not collect data, so you wouldn't need to in that case. But if they are collecting data and storing that, just gotta let people know how that's being collected, stored, and used and whatnot, and how they can access the data.
Yeah. And here's a kind of from a consumer point of view. Oftentimes when, I'm trying to contact a company and I go to their contact page and it's just a form and they won't even give me an email, no phone number. Where's this company located? Like, who are these people? I go to the privacy policy, and oftentimes in the privacy policy, it's like, New York, or wherever they're from. It's another way to track them down.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Hey, I'm wondering if we should just take a stretch break, or does everyone want to? Can we take a 2-minute bio break? Yeah. Good timing. Okay, let's do that. 2 minutes. This is great, Kory. Thanks for presenting.
Yeah, definitely.
What time? Where are you, anyways? And was it Taipei? Where?
Yeah, in Taipei still. Yeah.
And are you going to be there for a while?
Yeah, they've just extended visas another month, so I think we'll be here for another month.
Cool. So what is it? What is it, like 11 o'clock at night there, or what?
Yeah, like 12:30.
12:30. That's great.
But love talking about e-commerce, right? So.
Cool. I think we're all back. Let her rip, Kory.
All right. Cool. So now we will jump into shipping and pickup. So just real quick, if you're interested in international shipping, the trade.gov website has some really great resources for that. But otherwise, we'll jump into most of the use cases, which is probably the first step to shipping is establishing your shipping policy. And so this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier, and that's related to everything mentioned on this checklist, which I will cover in a bit more detail. So the shipping software can be something that you utilize if you are kind of planning to ship a lot of products and you want to keep track of these products, of the tax related to these products. You know, maybe if they're coming from a fulfillment center, then it's helpful to have to integrate a shipping software that basically can be like a dashboard to integrate all of the products that you have, and all of the tools that you're using. And so that would be shipping software. Is carrier would be something like USPS, UPS, DHL, FedEx, and they have excellent resources out there right now as well for helping people get online who don't have as much experience with either of those carriers or any of those carriers. And then service level is going to be, you know, what plan you have kind of worked out with the carrier in terms of how many packages you're shipping and whatnot. And then next up, we'll talk a little bit about packaging, which can be really important for marketing as well. If you're kind of putting custom packaging on your whatever you're selling, your product, or probably not your service, your product, and it's just important to, you know, can be important to stand out from the crowd if you're looking to maybe kind of make an impression, putting different types of packaging around your product. That could be an interesting thing. As well, packaging relates to costs, and you know, the different types of packaging that you're purchasing can add up, and so it's just important to be aware of how much that fits into shipping and whether you're gonna we'll get into cost just now, which would be the different. Sorry, Robert, go ahead.
Yeah. There's something in kind of product design or customer experience, and it's called the out-of-box experience. One of the best examples of that is Apple. When you buy it, you get a new iPhone and you're like, oh, the box, it slides out so nice, and oh, everything fits perfectly, and it's this wonderful, you know, just opening the box is, if you're kind of a tech geek or care about these things, they put a lot of time and effort into that. So, you know, consider this where you only have so much energy. You know, are you going to just wrap it up and send it out? That's fine. If, you know, time is of the essence and that's not where you're choosing to put your, you know, your bells and whistles in. But oftentimes it's like, okay, that is the first time they're ordering from you. It came on time. It wasn't damaged. I opened the box. There's a handwritten note. Thank you so much. Or there's like, you know, extra batteries, or just something. It doesn't even have to be a sticker, anything. That goes a long way in improving the customer experience. And, you know, another thing is, thanks for your order one time, offer 20% off your next order if you order by August 1st. Or, you know, just, that's the opportunity. You are in their home. You are in their business. How do you want that experience to be? And so it's really important and something to consider. So I just thought I'd throw that in. And also, Kory, just as far as timing goes, there was a question, I think it's a really good suggestion, about in the end in the Q&A section, maybe you could just highlight, like, here are the basic steps. Buy a domain name, pick a platform, pick a template, you know, like the flow of doing that would be great. Yeah. Thanks.
Definitely. Yeah, good suggestion. Yeah, I'll definitely go through that at the end. And yeah, thanks for touching on the packaging. It can be super important. As well, something came to my mind when we're talking about carriers and packaging. Each of the carriers, USPS, UPS, DHL, and FedEx, they have great resources on their website for shipping calculations. So when you're looking at how much it might cost to ship something from here to there, you know, if you're selecting your carrier, just go ahead and look on their website and do some calculations ahead of time so that you can work out the pricing and whatnot to make sure that you're charging adequately. So then when it comes to costs, one of the things that is important to talk about is, you know, the notion of free shipping. So somebody has to pay for the shipping. So, you know, who's that going to be? Is it going to be maybe the customer? You're going to increase the cost of the product to cover the shipping cost. Maybe you take a cut from your margins and give free shipping. Maybe you split the shipping, increase the price of your product a little bit. You can also sometimes offer discounts if people purchase a certain amount of product. So, you know, that you buy $50, then you get free shipping, enough to make it worth it to eat the cost of shipping. So when you're looking at pricing, when it comes to shipping, those are just important things to think about, because that can have a huge impact. And some people, I think, even charge, you know, some people just charge a flat rate and that works. Some people charge more than a flat rate and even might make money on shipping. That's sometimes not best practice, but it can depend. Next up, insurance. This is something that might not want to rely on, but it's just good to know about. A lot of the priority mail services offer a coverage for up to like $100 in case something goes wrong. But keep in mind that's time that you're spending putting into claims, into recovering product that, you know, lots of images that you have to take and whatnot. So yeah, better to, if possible, to package it up right and get it to the person all in one piece than have to deal with the claims. But it is there in case that's needed. And then fulfillment. So whether you are fulfilling from, you know, from your garage, from your front room, or maybe a fulfillment center, there's lots of different options for fulfillment. You can outsource that if you have the ability to maybe deliver your product to a warehouse where they can take care of the shipping for you. That will usually cost a fee for, you know, rental space of whatever size, and then as well as whatever they charge for packaging and then shipping it out. And in terms of fulfillment from your home, there's just things to think about, like how are you fulfilling these products? So are you paying one of these carriers, USPS, UPS, FedEx, to come and pick up your package? Are you putting it in your mailbox and having to pick it up every day? Are you going to the mailbox at the end of the day, you know, batching your orders and delivering them all at once? Just things to think about when you're fulfilling these products from your home. And let's see. As well, I might have mentioned this just now, but you can schedule a pickup with the major carriers, but it will cost a fee. Oh yeah, and then last but not least, local pickup. That's another really important topic. Just kind of, it goes in the same way with packaging. You know, what is that process like for somebody with a local pickup? And it's going to vary based upon what you are selling, where they're picking it up. You know, are you meeting at a location to pick it up? Maybe you're, you know, maybe you're selling a product on a marketplace, and so you're just meeting up to sell this one single product. Or maybe, you know, you have an established location, or you have something worked out with a business and people can come and pick up your product there at any point in time. The pickup will depend, but it's just important to think about, you know, to put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Maybe even like go through a trial run with a pickup with a friend, family member, say, hey, come pick up this product, and then just get feedback from what that's like, picking up the product in that process and whatnot. If they have any helpful suggestions, that's always good to know ahead of time. So yeah, were there any questions about shipping and pickup before I move on to tax? All right, we'll push right along. So when talking about tax and e-commerce, we are specifically referring to sales tax associated with an online sale. So sales tax is a consumption tax, meaning that consumers only pay the sales tax on taxable items that they buy at retail. So 45 US states and Washington, D.C. all have sales tax, and as well some other localities have their own regional tax. So as an online retailer, if you are responsible for sales tax in a state, it is your responsibility to charge the buyers the correct amount of sales tax and remit the taxes collected back to the state. So to determine whether you should be paying sales tax within a certain location, it's dependent upon whether or not you have a nexus. And so a nexus is just a fancy way to say like a significant connection to a state. And so here's just a few ways that you can have a nexus in a different state. If you meet one of the following, then you're obligated to collect sales tax in that area and then remit that back to the state. So if you have an office location, if you have personnel within the state, if you have inventory within the state, if you have a large amount of your sales that occur within that state, let's see, generally about 100,000 or 200 transactions annually, then you have a nexus in that state. If you have somebody who sells or advertises the product for you for a fee, and takes a cut of the profits, an affiliate, and that would be established as a nexus. A dropshipping relationship, selling products at a trade show. So these are all just things to look at for your specific scenario and figure out what sales tax you need to collect in what state. And so being in California, you'll need to collect sales tax in most cases for California based upon the local tax rates. And as well, sales tax, I forgot to mention, sales tax is governed on a state level, not a national level. So there's no national sales tax. And oftentimes this resale certificate that you get within a state, it acts as well as like a seller's permit. If you've heard that term, resale certificate, seller's permit are similar things if you're selling in a different state. And sometimes if you do have a larger e-commerce operation and you're selling in multiple states, it can be helpful to have shipping software that will keep track of all the changes in tax laws and tax fees and whatnot, and just kind of make that process more automated, because since it's governed at a state level, it's changing quite often. So it's just important to be aware of all of these details. And most of the time with different platforms, they'll collect the tax for you if configured properly. Cool. So next up after Nexus is selecting a platform. So some of you may already have an online store and where people can go to make a purchase. And if that's the case, just bear with me. We'll go through some of the options. If you already have a website and you can't sell on it currently, it might be worth sticking with your current platform and looking into like a hybrid option. And so the hybrid option that I mentioned earlier would be something like Shopify Lite, which is $10 a month. And you can basically install that onto your any Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, whatever it is. You can just add that on there and it adds a cart overlay, and it's pretty easy to set up and relatively cheap or relatively cost effective. So we'll kind of zoom out and kind of think about selecting a platform from just, what is this and how do we conceptualize moving forward? So there's a few options. You can crash at a friend's or family's home. You can rent an apartment. You can buy a house. You can build a house. You can even build and sell houses for people. So marketplace would kind of be similar to like crashing a family member's or friend's house, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can get set up with Etsy, eBay, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, or any of these platforms to sell your product. Whether it's just one product that you have that you're just looking to get rid of, or you have multiple products that you're looking to sell on these platforms. That's a great place to do that. And as well, some of them can scale to different different capacities. Like for example, people selling on Amazon can probably reach a larger audience, sell a lot more product. So, but essentially you're still using somebody else's platform. So you're still paying, I think, whatever the fees are that they're going to charge you per transaction. And then a SaaS platform would be similar to like renting. So renting a house would be something like Shopify Premium. It's a bit more expensive. Renting an apartment would be something like Squarespace, Wix. They're a bit more cost effective. Good place to start. It includes like a website builder. Both of them do. You could rent a service apartment. That would maybe be something like Square Up, and that's kind of like a merchant account hybrid that kind of gives you a website, merchant account, and checkout process all in one. And then there's an open source web platform, and that's basically building a house, depending on how you do it. Just keep in mind that open source is free. But you'll need to pay for maintenance, or you'll need to either pay for or do maintenance on the website and pay for web hosting. And so some good options are WooCommerce, Magento, or DrupalCommerce. And so this is something that can start relatively simple and get quite complex. And then next up we have build a store, and this is probably unlikely, but just select your language of choice and start coding away, and then creating your own multi-vendor marketplace to sell other people's products, or sell a platform, sell websites to people to sell their products. And that can also be done from scratch. So that's kind of just a quick overview of thinking about selecting a platform, the different options that are out there, and basically just a quick overview of how you can kind of get started and maybe see what fits your needs, see where you're at, see whatever industry you're in. Whatever's the quickest to get up and selling that minimum viable product is probably the best route to take in terms of testing whatever you're selling online, and make adjustments from there.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the, I guess I'll just keep on hammering on this, that time is of the essence. Get up and running as quickly as possible. There's all these decisions, lots of decisions to make, the merchant account, all this stuff. Is it, 2.3% or 2.7%? At this point, you can change, just decide on something and try it and move forward. With the marketplace, with Etsy, eBay, Facebook, those types of platforms, besides ease of use and time to market, speed, there's a couple other things to consider, and this falls more on the marketing side, is where do your customers hang out? If you're an artist, then people that are looking for art and crafts, they go to Etsy. And so maybe you should be on Etsy because they're a search engine in a way themselves. They attract people that are your customer base. As opposed to, let's say you buy a domain name and you go and you build a WordPress site. All the traffic that gets there, you earn. Every last person you earn through search engine optimization or advertising or however, you have to bring them there. Other platforms that are marketplaces like Shopify, they have like social media built in. So you have a Shopify store, and then you share on Facebook, you share here, you share there, you share there. They make it easy because they know you're trying to cast a really wide net and bring customers to your store. And they get more money per transact. They get more money. The more money you make, the more money they make. So it's in their best interest to provide you tools to cast that wide net and bring a lot of people to your store. And so as a store owner, you have those tools at your disposal. Oh, cool. I'm going to put this product on Shopify, and then I'm going to put it on Twitter and Facebook and all these other places to cast a wide net. It's a lot harder if you're building it on WordPress. And yes, there are those sharing tools on WordPress, but it's like install a plugin, configure the plugin, hook it up, test it, So it's not just the technology, it's what the platform does for you. And if you're like, oh, well, this platform that's all in one, I'll just make it up and it's not that expensive. But let's say it costs $100 a month. You're like, whoa, I don't want to spend $100 a month. I'm not even making $100 a month in sales. Well, the alternative is paying a web developer $2,500 to build this big website. That's one possible alternative. You know, there's a lot of ways to get at this, but I'm just saying, like, you really have to think about where you're really at right now, where you want to go, and what investment you're going to make in your online presence. And it's not just like, I'm spending $100 a month on this. I need to make $200 a month to make it worthwhile. It's, I'm starting an online business. It's going to take a while to build up, to make the sales. And I have X amount of money I'm going to dedicate towards this, and know that some of the mistakes are going to cost you money. Some of the things are going to cost you money, but it's just part of doing business. You got to spend money to make money. So just more data to throw into your decision-making process. Thanks.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's definitely good to be very clear about, you know, where you're at, what you're looking to invest, and as Robert mentioned, you know, where are the people that you are looking to sell to? Because that's essentially who you want to connect with, and whatever that process is, whether it's a platform, whichever platform it is, whichever makes sense for your specific scenario. So, oh, I think I heard a question. Yeah.
What platform would handle selling the same product like I need at the same time?
Sorry, I heard what product will handle selling the same product,
On
and then
eBay and Amazon at the same time.
gotcha. So yeah, so integrating those different platforms would probably, it can be done by something like either a shipping software, or, you know, something. I think BigCommerce comes to my mind, is a platform that could be used to integrate different platforms. You can even have your own website with BigCommerce. So yeah, that's one solution, but there's other solutions as well. Does that kind of address the question?
Well, do you have to go to something like WordPress to be able to handle this, or?
Let's see. So you're looking to integrate the quantity of products that you have. So like you know, and being able to sell them on multiple products, and just make sure that you're able to ship them to people and fulfill those orders. Is that correct?
If I have one product, a Mickey Mantle baseball card, and I want to sell it on eBay and Amazon at the same time, as soon as it sells on eBay, will the software automatically take it off Amazon?
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. So that would definitely be worth looking into, some sort of shipping software that could integrate these two platforms for you, that can keep track of inventory, so that you have one place to enter that inventory, and then it can update quickly on each of them. So yeah, BigCommerce was one that came to my mind, but I'm sure that's more of a sales platform, but I'm sure there's other platforms out there.
I'm wondering if there's a Zapier applet that would connect the two.
Yeah, that could definitely be worth looking into. That's basically kind of like a if this then that. So that's just a way to connect two platforms to each other. So it basically, if something sells on Amazon, go to eBay and decrement the stock one item. So that might be worth looking into. It's Zapier, and that's just something that you can search for. Did that address the question?
Sort of. I still don't know I don't know what platform to go to get this done, what you just said.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to shipping software, it is going to very much depend on what you're looking to pay for. What you're, it sounds like you're specifically looking to integrate Amazon and eBay. And so I think that searching online for a tool, I think off the top of my head, like I think Ship Hippo would be a good one, but it really depends on, more what capabilities is it a large amount of stock? Is it, are you handling the shipment yourself, or is it being fulfilled from all of these details, and looking into what platforms are out there and what can kind of fit your needs in terms of, and I don't know off the top of my head the range of shipping options, which one is specifically geared towards selling like a baseball card, if that's what you're selling.
That's, in my case, it's baseball cards, coins,
Gotcha.
and Fiesta are 3 different product lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I currently sell on eBay. It's working fine, but I'd like to be able to do Amazon at the same time if I could. So who would be a good consultant to talk to figure out which way is the best way to go?
Yeah, definitely. Robert, do you have any suggestions? I could definitely do some research myself, but.
Yeah. So I think it's a unique case. It's a very specific case that you have where it's your inventory is one. In most cases, it's this one rare coin, and you've cross-posted on multiple platforms. So is there an inventory something that talks to inventory management from Amazon to eBay? I don't know. It's a very specialized case, and we'll have to research that. As far as consultants go, Kory, I just heard Kory say he'd be willing to look into that. It's not clear as far as Kory and I need to talk about the Rebound consultant team, but on Thursday, there's going to be a bunch of people that introduce themselves that may, you might be like, okay, I think of this consultant. I will talk to that person, and I'll just contact them directly. And I know it must seem a little fuzzy about what this Rebound consultant team is, and I'll be sure to clarify that as we move on, but it's basically some people that have volunteered their time, that it's 2 hours of their time at minimum is paid for. So they will get paid a stipend. It's not their full rate to spend 2 hours actually doing the work for you. And then you can work with them directly and say, hey, will you give me 5 hours, and work out a price and that kind of thing. But that's just strictly between you and that consultant. But there is a limited amount of time that they are committing to give to you for free to you. So Thursday, you'll have a much better sense of that.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that helps.
Yep.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody on the team will have some specialized knowledge in fulfilling orders with Amazon and eBay. That would be great. Cool. So were there any more questions before we move on to store design?
There's no question, but I do want to just, if we could just cut at like 15 minutes just to go through the workflow at the end, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. I'll run through this real quick. Just things to consider when it comes to store design. I mean, right now we're kind of sticking with the theme of keep it simple. So just thinking about all of these details, you can always reach out to a developer with the theme and just say, hey, is this a good theme? And, I'd be a good person to reach out to, and I'll have my contact information. And I'll just give you a quick, thumbs up, thumbs down, like whether that's a good, if you're going the theme route. Or with like Squarespace and other platforms, you'll be able to design yourself. And then let's see, but templates should be optimized for search engines, loading time, social media sharing, marketing integration, just basically everything that visually impacts the website and the website sales. And so, yeah, the first step is a style guide, and there's a great link right here, which will be shared in the drive. And so with design, less is more. So avoid pop-up windows, sidebars. The page should speak for itself. Everything else can be distracting as well. It can be bad for. It can negatively impact usability of the website, and which has an impact on various other aspects of the website. Direct attention, don't overwhelm it. Use a space to your advantage. Most themes out there, they have a style guide, so it's just good to stick with whatever they've set for you. If there's a primary button color, make sure that all your buttons are that color, that size, that spacing, that font, just to maintain consistency, because these are little cues that our brains are picking up on that we might not always be aware of, but they're things that we pay attention to, and that the design impacts how much a user will trust your website. And whatever they're used to seeing on other websites, they're going to apply the same standards to your website. So websites should generally tell a story, and so just make sure to choose a template, or design a template via a website builder like Squarespace that reflects your brand effectively. And just make sure that that's consistent across all channels. You don't want a different logo on your website to Facebook to Amazon. Just make sure that that's all consistent, because these are little details that people will pick up on. As well, make sure that you're looking into mobile design and that your website is mobile friendly. And that's just something that is built into most designs nowadays, but the term that they're going to use is responsive. So just make sure that the theme that you're selecting is responsive. When it comes to selling the product, these are just good things to touch on. I know I'll speed it up a bit, but establishing trust, and that comes back to design. That comes back to the way that you're collecting data, to being very transparent about everything on your website in terms of the products that you offer, all the information that you're providing, and whatnot. Make your content scannable. So if you add in things like link, or if you're adding in large text blocks, just making sure that you're breaking that up with images, with maybe some icons that catch people's attention, so then they can read the text around it, just quick snippets. That's a great way for when most people are scanning through the website on their smartphones, and so that's just a great way to catch people's attention and deliver your core values as they're scanning through the website. Display your products clearly, make them easy to find, answer any questions in product descriptions, use appropriately sized high quality images. And so I think that there's a whole section on images, and so that will all be covered in a different course. Bottom line, just make it easy, offer multiple payment options, minimize the number of steps to check out, minimize the amount of information collected, make registration optional so that you're not automatically signing people up for accounts. Use clear error indication, so if something's not working, just make sure you're letting people know. And these are some things that will be taken care of by the website builder that you're selecting in most cases. And then just make sure it's really easy for people to reach out to you. So if they have a question about your product or service, just ensuring that people can do that. Usually just put like your email in the footer of your website, or maybe at the header, and a phone number if that's the way that you do business. So next up, we'll run quickly through contacting online accounts. So the most important thing when you're considering creating new interconnecting accounts is to establish how these can make your life easier, and to make sure you want and have the time to maintain these platforms and methods of outreach. So, no need to create more work for yourself. If you're creating 5 different social media accounts on 5 different platforms and you don't have the time or energy to to work across all of these accounts, then maybe scale it back a little bit. Focus on where is your audience. Like maybe nobody, maybe you're selling a specific product that nobody's interacting with you on Instagram. So you focus on Pinterest, for example, and maybe you have a lot of people interacting with the things that you're posting on Pinterest. So it's better to have 100 people on one social media platform than 100 potential customers on one social platform than it is to have 20 potential potential customers scattered across 5 different social media platforms. And that way people know where to go to find you as well. So when you're making the social media accounts, emails, newsletters, and other methods of contact clear and visible on your website, just make sure that's easy for people to connect with you on those social media platforms. This creates clarity and consistency with your relationships with your customers. If you have automated thank yous, that's great as well. We touched a bit on that on email campaigns earlier, and I'm sure that will be covered more on a different day. Make sure your website content is shareable as well. That's a big thing, just so that people can, like, if you're writing blog posts, for example, if they can share the blog with somebody else, or podcast, or whatever, product, maybe if it's easy to share that product via a link, then that's great. Just easier for other people to purchase the product from somebody suggests a product to their friend, and it's easier for their friend to purchase that product because it's been already recommended, and there's that level of trust from the word of mouth recommendation. So making things easily shareable between people is definitely an important thing to focus on. And then etiquette with social media. Just be thoughtful about how you approach social media and other online accounts and technology. These are tools, that can be used to enrich and simplify our lives if we use them how we want to use them. No one wants to be marketed to in a way that feels spammy, irrelevant, or disingenuous, and there's no need to invest in a new tool that doesn't help your business in the long run. So just focus on what works, focus on where the people are that you're trying to connect with, and then focus on the people that you're trying to connect with, and sell your product to and work with. And so, yeah, the last step would be testing. So can't stress how important this step is. You don't want to set up your whole store and somebody goes to your website and they can't purchase a product and you don't find out about it for a few days. So just make sure that once your store's up, ready to go, ask a friend to test it out, ask a couple of friends to test it out, see if maybe they have a weird problem on their platform that somebody else didn't have. And so these are just things to look at, and just make sure that that's also a great way to talk about your website with friends. Send a discount link, and invite them to some special that you have. There's just some good ways to make this a whole part of the strategy as well. We build the internet together, so let's make it a place that we want to visit. And thank you. I will cover the recap as well right now. So my partner Abigail will be available to respond to questions. Abigail@marston.co. She'll probably respond faster than me, so that's why I put her email in there. But you can also reach me, Kory@marston.co. She will just definitely be better to answer any questions that you have. I'll go ahead and post the link afterwards. But maybe we'll go back to the first slide. I'll go ahead and post the email and links to the slide in the Zoom chat later on, and I'm just going to go back to the first slide right now, just to cover the overview of what we went over today. So setting up your website from scratch, basically, select your domain, product.com, select your hosting. If you're going that route, let's just assume that we're going that route and we're doing all these steps. So select your domain, product.com, hosting, maybe SiteGround is a hosting platform for WordPress, sitemap. Make sure you got all the simple sitemap that I mentioned earlier. And then, you can install the platform. In this case, it will be WordPress onto your host. Configure the plugins, configure the theme onto that platform. The plugin adds product functionality and the theme adds the style, and then set that up. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Can you slow down for a second and talk a little bit about how to connect the platform to the domain, like the actual mechanics of that step?
Yeah, definitely. So with your platform, it'll vary. So for example, if you have Squarespace or Shopify, you'll be able to just this whole kind of setup process will be very, very step by step, and we'll guide you through the process. You'll probably purchase your domain with them, and they'll kind of connect it for you, so you won't need to worry about that. But if you're doing it yourself, like for example, if you're purchasing your domain at Hover, and you're purchasing your hosting at SiteGround, then you would go to Hover and you would update what's called the name servers, and SiteGround will give you 2 lines that you copy and paste over to Hover, and then the domain will point to the host and your website will be live, assuming you install WordPress beforehand or whatever platform you use. So that's this is just kind of the general overview, but if you're using something like Squarespace or Shopify, that's going to have basically all of these steps laid out for you. They most likely have a merchant processor already selected, or a group that you can choose from. Or I think Albert mentioned that, you know, Stripe, they have to pay, or yeah, I don't remember, whatever they're using for merchant processing, they have to pay an extra fee. So just be aware of that when you're selecting a platform as well. But yeah, back to the overview. If, you know, if you're kind of just going for it with WordPress and a host, the merchant account will be something that the plugin that you're installing onto WordPress, you'll be able to choose your merchant account and then connect that to whatever, you know, WooCommerce is a good example of a plugin that people use to sell products on WordPress. And Stripe would be something that people are using to, you know, sell, to be the merchant processor to process transactions. And then email, G Suite could maybe be something that you use for your business account. And then that can also be used to send transactional emails for follow-up emails that you connect to WordPress. And so that you would need to configure a plugin for that for SMTP. And in terms of service and privacy policy, it'd be great to, you know, go onto the Shopify free tool and create something there, maybe have that verified by a lawyer if you have the funds to do so. And then shipping pickup, that's, you know, up to you to determine your rates, how much you're charging, you know, look at the dimensions of your product, go over to USPS, UPS, calculate that and see how much, you know, you should be charging, and whether you're doing a rate based upon their location. And there's tools for the different platforms that can help you calculate all those things. And then
these platforms allow you to design the site before you have a domain?
Yes. So I don't know about all of them. I think some will allow you to create a subdomain that you can test out different options for, you know, like I think subdomain.wix.com could be an option, or subdomain.squarespace.com could also be a free option.
Yeah, a lot of the sites work like this. It's free if you use their domain and all that stuff, and then you set up your site, and then you upgrade, and then your site is upgraded, and then you get to use your own domain name, and you get more bells and whistles.
Yeah, and I know like Shopify, you can sign up for a demo account, but you just can't sell anything. So that's an example of something that you can test out. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah, so when it comes to tax, that's going to be something that you can also work with your platform to determine how you're collecting tax. And talked about platforms and, you know, and how that relates to this. And then store design, that's where you're going to install a theme or use whatever theme is provided by the platform that you're selecting. And they'll have usually an array of themes to choose from. And then connecting your social media accounts, whether that's Facebook or Twitter. That can sometimes be installing a plugin like on WordPress and then entering in your Facebook info, logging in, and it can be connected depending upon your needs and the complexity and whatnot. It can be simple or more complex. And then testing and just making sure that you're, you know, testing every step of the checkout and that there's no errors and that you're getting the money and processed through your merchant account. So that's a very simplified and quick overview. I think that, yeah, we've got some time for questions now. So I'll go ahead and grab those links. And then if you want to post your questions in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
And you could also just unmute yourself and ask away.
Can you say a little bit more about how to tell if a template is mobile responsive?
Yeah, definitely. So they'll usually either have a demo or they'll say it's mobile responsive. So if they're trying to sell you a theme or if it's free, sometimes within their marketing material, they'll have just a thing that says mobile responsive. If they have a demo, definitely check it out and open up that link, open up that link on your mobile device and look at it.
I might have missed something earlier, but did you say there was a source for maybe finding some of the legal language? I know I remember someone saying you could look at other people's sites and sort of modify it, but is there a place where you can get some good standard, generic language? Like, is there anyone that offers that out for free that you know of?
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking to generate one, Shopify would be a great place to look. Just search Shopify, free terms of service.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
That'd be a good solution. Mm-hmm. And then I'll have a link as well in the resources.
Okay.
Someone's asking to go a little deeper into sitemap.
Yeah, for sure. So the sitemap is just kind of like the general overview of the pages on the website. And so that's just a great place to let Google and let usually it's a search engine, a crawler or like a robot that comes and looks at your website, sees what's there, reports back, so then they know how to rank your website relative to the rest of the websites out there in general. And so so the sitemap is where you kind of have the structure. You have your home page, you have your about page, maybe your products page, and your product single. So that's like product 1, product 2, product 3, and then maybe a contact page. So are there any specific questions that I can address with sitemap?
Isn't that automatically generated from the code, or you have to develop the sitemap then generate the code?
It's going to definitely depend on the platform that you use. For example, if you're building it yourself, whether it's WordPress or some sort of web app, you're going to need to create a sitemap.xml page, and it's pretty simple. You can actually use a tool online to do that. And the best way to do this is to do it yourself, because if you have a list of pages on your website and some of them are dummy pages, you don't want those to be indexed by Google, because that can show up and it's like, oh, sample product, and that's something that people can potentially check out with. So it's first good to disable that, and second to make sure that doesn't appear on your sitemap.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so there's also there's the technical kind of thing where what Kory was just describing, but then there's also you're building a website, and what is it going to look like? Again, go to someone else's site you like, and there's the home page. It's like it look like a flow chart, or some type of chart, which is a structure. You have your home page, and at this level there's about, contact, product, services, schedule an appointment, and then below that are sub pages. And so when you're designing your site conceptually, you can write it out that way. And then if you have an about page, guess what? You have to write a blurb about your about page. Or, if you're going to sell 6 products, you need pictures for 6 of the products, a description for each of the products, a price for each of the products, etc. And don't forget, you have a privacy policy page, terms of service page. Then there's a shopping cart. I used to run a web design company, and people would say, I just need a 5-page website. It was like the thing. Everyone I just need a quick 5-page website. And by the time we were done, it was like a 14-page website, because, oh yeah, because this, and oh yeah, because that. And it really helps to think it through, what you're looking for and what you need. So the sitemap not only helps you, the search engines find you, but also helps you build the page, the website too.
Definitely good stuff.
I will send out a copy of the chat.
Thank you.
Cool. Hey, Kory, could you, I don't know what the deal is with the host stuff, but could you make me host now?
Mhm.
Or I don't know if you have the ability to make me co-host.
Yep. All right, you should now be host.
Okay. So I want to share this screen. Can you guys see my webpage, Sierra Commons webpage? Yeah. Okay, so this page under Business Igniter resources here, I do need to update this page because there's some material from the last class. But as you see, this is Barry's presentation from yesterday. And you will also, Kory's going to send you a link with his stuff, but hopefully I'll be able to put it up here. I'll talk with Kory about that. And then this right here is a video series from the last class, but I'm going to replicate this for us. It's slightly different. Our class is slightly different, but just so you know the interface, you'll see a web player like this. And then here you'll have, session 1, session 2, session 3. So you'll have access to the videos. I like to email you the text because I feel like I don't want the public having that accessible to the public. I just feel it's more private. So you get that in email. And while I'm here on the Sierra Commons webpage, just let you know that we are having an online auction coming up where you can see this on this tab here. There's an auction page, and this is a fundraiser for Sierra Commons so we can continue bringing classes like this to businesses like you for free. And right now we're just getting rolling, and there's a online donation page, and you could just put in the information and upload a couple pictures. And then we have a social media person who is going to be pushing out the auction so we can get some visibility for your business if you're ready for that. So that's just a little bit of an advertisement, but hope you don't mind. And so go to that resource page, and that's where I'm going to be updating things for this class. Goods and services, yes, it is going to be both. And I do want to talk a little bit, just since we have a second, about services. We did try to open this class up to not just product businesses, but service businesses as well. If you think about your service as a product, there are things you can offer, such as sign up for a free half-hour consultation. That in a way is the same as buying something, except they're just signing up through a calendar type system or reaching out to you. That's a lot of the same things apply. But I'd also have you consider, I know, Matthew, you're selling insurance, other people might be selling other things, that it might not just be your payoff is when you sell the insurance. It could be a package where we advise you on, family planning, or I don't know what it would be, but some type of package that might have a price to it, that they could say you get this, 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 and this. And of course, at the end, you might want to sell them insurance, different kinds of insurance. That might be something. But getting someone to pay you for something gets them literally buy-in to what you're offering. And so if you're a service, you're ultimately selling something. And if you can think of creative ways to get them to make a financial commitment to you. We'll get them to be a customer on the paying side of things, and you can work with them from there. So that's my 2 cents on that. So we got time for a quick question. Otherwise, we can wrap it up and let you know that we are marketing like crazy tomorrow. And then Thursday is going to be the consultant kind of introductions. Mike Moores is all about copywriting. He's awesome. And he will go through like product detail page, and really dive into that to give you a better sense of how you're presenting your product. And then on Friday, we're going to bring back as many of the instructors that can make it, and we're going to just do question and answer. And also, if anyone has specific, the class is missing this, I really would like this to be covered. I feel like there's a hole in the class. I'll make an effort to cover that on Friday as well. So it's a little bit of a catch-all, and it's a little bit more interactive. So be sure to attend that. And that's when you're going to get a lot of like, here's my special need, please address this. So, and then of course, request consulting through SBDC, and we can just keep this train rolling with one-on-one consulting. So, questions? Should we wrap it up? Thank you so much, Kory. As always, you're excellent, great information. And I do want to say I love the garden shot that we have. Kay Jarvis garden shot brings me some peace through this meeting. So until tomorrow, thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.